Hey, what's going on, people? This is Over the Tenchi, and I'd like to welcome you to another TMNT Rant Rave review for this week's episode entitled Target April O'Neil. So it starts out with Karai getting a stern talking to by Shredder about her actions in his absence. He's not exactly thrilled with what she's been up to, you know, but she's going to continue doing her thing. Matter of fact, the Krang have already started to build and engineer a robot for her to use for her, for her next mission, which is basically to straight up get April. It's real dark. They just say target April O'Neil. It's right in the title. For goodness sake, you got the Turtles still, still missing April, especially Donnie. We got April getting getting all up in Donnie's face because he at one point was following her, and it's kind of, I know his intentions were good, but it's kind of creepy that he was just following her like that. But I digress. It's not really a big deal. But the biggest message in this episode was some things are out of our control. It was said once by Donnie, and then again while April was talking to Casey. Casey was at the hockey rink practicing, and they were talking, and she was talking about friends that she doesn't talk to anymore, and he's like, yeah, that's crazy. I used to have this friend that I played hockey with, and then one day something happened, and we weren't friends anymore. I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I'm saying. And he says some things are out of our control, and that makes her think about what's going on. Next thing you know, footbots start coming around, and Casey just goes in. Casey just does his thing, just fighting every single one of them. And I'm not saying it's easy, but at the same time, he held his own against the Foot Ninjas. Say what you want about this version of Casey, but this is Casey. This is Casey. Yeah, he's in this case he's a teenager, so he's even more rowdy. You know what I'm saying? But this is Casey. On the flip side, we got Karai trying to capture April. We got April getting into this pretty intense fight with Karai. We got the Turtles that have her back against the Foot Ninjas, along with Chrome Dome, this robot who I swear has the same gear on that Chris Bradford had when he was first introduced into the series. So this episode got pretty deep and pretty intense with the fighting. I have to give it up to them. It showcased Casey and what else he could do after that crazy debut he had during the Mutagen Man episode, and it just seemed that now everything seems to be getting back to normal because the Turtles are forgiven. After all of this, April realizes that it wasn't completely their fault. And they are now forgiven, and now the team's back together. So so the next thing would be for Casey to join the team, but Casey has not met the Turtles yet. So it'll be interesting to see what his reaction would be to to the green team. You know what I'm saying? But one thing I'd like to see. In just about every adaptation of the Turtles, including the current comics, Raphael has been the first one to meet Casey. So I'd like that to happen too, because Raphael and Casey, they've had this bond. They're really they were always really close. Besides Casey and April and the rest of the Turtles, Raphael and Casey Jones, since they're both thick-headed and don't always think before getting into stuff, they are they become like brothers, especially in the when they first met. well, he got gypped because he wasn't in the second movie, but in the fourth movie, yes, TMNT, you can see how close they actually are, even though they have very little dialogue. And even in the comic books, Raphael, and I know I've mentioned this before in past videos, but in the new comics, Raphael saves Casey from his abusive father. So it's always, it's always when he meets the Turtles, it's always he meets Raph or connects with Raph before anybody else. So that's one thing that's one thing I'd really like to see in this show. Big ups to Michelangelo once again for coming up with this crazy idea for distracting the Krang. He used shadow puppets, and he's pretty good at it. And it really got them. It pretty funny. Very creative distraction. Big ups to the writers for giving Michelangelo much more to do this time around. And by much more to do, I mean character development wise. I don't mean he didn't have anything to do last season. I mean, aside from him, saying, like a couple goofy lines here and there, he has some really good ideas. This is like his third one in a row. So big ups to the writers for that. The love that the team is back together, and I can't wait to see what the dynamic's going to be between the Turtles and Casey when they finally meet him face to face. So what do you guys think about this episode? I could go on with it, but it was really pretty, pretty simple. Plot line, fight, plot line, and then that's it. What do you think about Casey's fight against the Footbots? Holding his own, doing the Casey Jones thing. What do you think about April finally reuniting with the team? And what do you think the next step from this point on will be? She's going to start training again. Who do you want to see mutated next? What else do you want to see going on in this series? Let me know in the comments below. And I will see you in the next video. Peace, love, and never be normal.